Yes. You, hold 1 second.
I was just, what, the last part you said, that we intend for it to say?
So that we don't do that. I thought I heard.
Oh, okay, I missed the down.
Yes, what I thought. I thought I heard you say that we
Okay,
don't. Yeah. Cause we don't want to do that. What you said, right?
thank you.
All right, Keisha.
It helps us closely examine like what's happening or who, what, when. Oh, just like saying it.
Okay. So what you all are doing, you're giving actually all of the different components or parts as to why I believe this is one of the most effective methods. If we were if we were to put it in a more in a concise fashion as far as thinking about it, this is perhaps one of the most effective methods of Bible study because it takes the Bible itself
Mhm.
and allows the Bible to speak without any interference, hopefully, from what someone else has said or what you may have thought or even what you may have been told about a given text, which most times forces you to look at that text in a more subjective manner as opposed to studying the Bible objectively. So it takes this book here without having your, here's an old devotional commentary, Matthew Henry. That's an old devotional commentaries, and it has value, but it's more, it's not, it's not what am I thinking of? It's not um, a linguistical commentary or making use of exegetical methods. It's just a devotional. But it forces you to let the Bible first thing, let it speak. And we've been covering that, right? This method helps you to let the Bible speak. And here's the other thing. It deals with studying the Bible, taking certain steps in a particular order to give particular results. So, which means this, we know the three parts to the inductive Bible study approach, right? Which starts with observation, interpretation, and application. Those steps in that order. So, in other words, is application a part of the inductive Bible study approach? Yes. Is interpretation a part of that method? Yes. Observation is. But you don't start with application. You don't start with interpretation. You start with observing what the text says. Can anyone remember, as we've talked about this, as we're going through Second and Third John, um, we know that in the book, K. Arthur talks about um, the different steps that where we start. Where do we start in this method of Bible study? Where's the place that we start? With prayer, right? Always. And I'm gonna show you something today, because I've been updating my little key marking things, um, and something that I hadn't really paid attention to. I know it's in the two epistles, Second and Third John, but the word receive, and just for some unique reason, it stood out to me as I looked at Third John, and I updated, and I'll show it to y'all when we get there tonight. But I updated my keynote marking, and it just really kind of gave it another little light. And I've just been working on it. But my point that is that are we getting? Why nobody? Why I don't get one? All right, Highway Patrol.
Yes.
Okay. But for what I was doing, guess what? I started with prayer. I said, Lord, as I'm working on this, my keynotes or key markings, I'm asking that you allow some things to jump out at me that I hadn't really given the same kind of attention as I did at other times. And if you pray, it's going to be there.
Yeah.
So you start with prayer, and in the observation, this is what I was getting at. What would be a good prayer to pray? Do we have a biblical prayer that we could pray? Psalms 119:18. What does that prayer say?
Mhm. Yeah.
Lord, open my eyes to the spiritual truth so that I may.
What translation is that? Or you just kind of put a little something on there? Oh, okay. But that's the gist of it.
Mhm.
But it's to open my eyes
Yeah.
that I might behold wonderful things from out of your law. So the word behold can also be translated what? To see. So what the psalmist is praying and asking the Lord to do as it related to his law, his word, is to help me to see. Not help me to understand what it means, but help me to see what it says. So to me, that makes this an effective approach because you're not subjecting your favorite author, as we've said, your favorite commentator or commentary to a given text. You're letting or allowing the scriptures to speak, to talk. It is after you have made um, or completed that step that then you get into dealing with what does a given text means. Let me see if I can put this up here for you all. Let me see. I was doing some word study because I'm working on this and reworking on stuff that I've done before in this whole study. But I was doing a word study on the word where dealing with the apostrophes in verse 9 of 3rd John, where he talks about how but Diotrephes, who loves to have the preeminence among um what give me that exact word where I'm not among them receiveth us not. And what else did it say? I'm gonna call out his is that no, I'll remember his deeds which he does, and then that line prating against us. Prating, right? So I'm looking at that word, and I'm just going to give you this because I think it's a wonderful picture. So the word prating, when we do the word study on that, it's basically a word that means to talk nonsense or to utter falsehood or folly. So basically, it's rhetoric spoken. Watch this though. That's empty of substance. I'm saying, okay. So whatever this prating is, it's nonsensical stuff. As a matter of fact, he tells us prating against us with what kind of words? Malicious words. So those are words that are intended to hurt you, to hurt your person, to hurt your character, to hurt your reputation, to make people look differently at you based on what someone else is saying about you with those malicious words, but prating against us with malicious words. He's speaking stuff that is not true.
Mhm.
It's empty. It's nonsensical. It doesn't even fit, right? But the word that is used, and this is the thing that just blew my mind. The word that is used to translate the phrase or the two words praying against us has what would be called a root word. So it's a root word that make up this word, and we'll get into it, prating. The root word, guess what it means? To bubble over. To bubble over, right? Or to speak something again that becomes useless speech. So it's to bubble about. Have you ever seen a pot of water bubbling over? Think about the bubble as we talked about this. A bubble, when you look at its construct, well, if you got a, what the kids would blow, the bubbles, they are a lot of fun.
Mhm.
They can be quite big. But when you really think about what is the construct of a bubble, nothing.
Mhm.
It's air. That's it. It's only good to pop, but it has no substance. So when he says prating against us, this is Diotrephes. He's blowing bubbles. He's got bubbling words that are malicious, that are of no substance, right? But it's real exciting, a big old bubble. And then you get thinking about how social media has become the modern day bubble blowers platform.
Yeah.
Think about it. It's nonsensical. It's not often what is said in keeping with what should be the character of the person or persons saying it. It's stuff that's intended to destroy homes, destroy lives, destroy reputations, destroy character. It's big, and it may for the bubble blower be exciting, but it's of no substance. Uh-oh. You got some bubble blowers at the job. Yeah, we all do, right? But I mean, it's just amazing. So, but that's just getting into that part of interpretation and interpreting. And this other thing, and I'm going to move on. When we get to dealing with word study, as I mentioned this to all of us, right? Well, we're familiar with using a Strong's Concordance, and we've heard of Vine's, dictionary for Old Testament Hebrew words and New Testament Greek words. But if you've looked at Strong's Concordance, and you'll see several sometimes different definitions for one particular word. It means this, that, and the other. But what people don't give attention to is that though a word might mean one thing in one place of scripture, it may not mean that in another. So that's called how are words used. So I just gave you an example of how this word prating against us with malicious words are used. So that was this big, lofty speech, empty rhetoric coming out of the mouth of Diotrephes. If they're malicious, it's intent on hurting the character of not only John, because he says he would not receive us, and he would kick out of church those that would receive him, that is John and others who carried about truth. You know, so anyway, I started putting pictures of things, and that's what we're gonna do. I mean, I don't know, and not people that we know pictures now, but just situational pictures, right? Just situational pictures. Um, I got it in a document, so I don't know if you guys will be able to see it though. Well, we'll see. I'll see what I can do with it. Oh, y'all can't, that's only y'all in online can see it. Okay, I'll let y'all see for a second. Actually, I'm gonna do it this way, I think. This is a quite a bit of multitasking. All right, this, y'all will be able to see it now. So see those pictures? That's an AI generated picture. That's prating, bubbling over. Hear malicious words. Look at these people speaking things that are intent to hurt this person. Everybody in their ear. Just imagine Diotrephes and his crew of friends and foes who are intent on destroying you with empty rhetoric that is of no substance. That's the idea for those of you who are, that's that picture that we're looking at. That picture there. All right, and then of course we're the last of that is the application part, and that's my take on why this is one of the most effective methods for Bible study. All right, what I want to finish up tonight. So we pretty much did all of Second John, right? Well, we closed out on was actually to point out all of the places where uh, the elder is either talking and or addressing the elect lady and her children. So we saw that all over Second John, right? So let me just set this scene for us again. I'm sorry, let me get this back. Second John is written by whom? In the letter itself. Who is the label? What's the label of the person that is the writer?
Elder. He's
the
the elder.
Yes. So it's the elder, that's the author. And who is the author of Second John writing to?
The elect lady and her children.
The elect lady and her children, right? All right, second. All right, so we're gonna get into this at the part of interpretation, but I'll give you this because there is an argument that says that the elect lady and her children could have been an actual lady and her young'uns or her children, or the elect lady based on the feminine gender that is used in reference to the church is the church. And who are the children? The members who make up that congregation. So either is nothing wrong with either idea. It could be an actual lady, but I would lean more towards it being the church. And well, because even as believers, we are the elect. We've been chosen, right? We've been called out from darkness unto his marvelous light. But either one of those works. So but why I lean more towards the the elect lady being the church and the children being the members is because of the latter part, or maybe even the last verse in Second John. What does that say? The last verse in Second John say. Read it where they can hear you over here. On,
Sister, read them.
all right, that it? All right, so that sounds like this other church. We call it our sister church. What do they do? And they greet you. So you see how it kind of more so leans towards it being another congregation as opposed to an individual woman. To me, that makes a lot of sense. But now when we come to Third John, it's not to the elect lady and her children, but well, who's the author of Third John?
The elder.
The same one who's the author of Second John. But who is the letter written to?
Guys,
And how do we know that to be so?
he addressed it.
Because of what? Verse 1. Our information comes from verse 1. So, let me ask you this. How does the elder refer to Gaius?
He's beloved.
To the beloved or well beloved. I'll just tell you this. It's a term of endearment. That tells you how he feels about Gaius, right? So to the beloved or the well beloved Gaius, he's the audience. So guess how that kind of looks? Second John is to the elect lady, which is the church, and her members. And then John says, let me highlight a member in Third John. And the member's name is Gaius. And the elder who writes the letter to this member, Gaius, feels the same way. Well, let me ask this question. How does the elder feel about the elect lady and Gaius?
The same way.
The same way. And what is that? There's love whom I love in the truth. So he has feelings of godly affection for Gaius. All right. Here's another question before we start highlighting words, repeated words. I've mentioned this before a number of times that there are a lot of people who use verse 2 almost as if it's a verse that you quote when you want to pronounce blessings upon your viewing audience on television or at some conference or workshop, right? And it's that whole line, beloved, I wish above all things that you may prosper. And what else?
Be in good.
And be in health, even as thy soul prospers. That's what they say. That's what they do. But what's the problem with using this text in such a general fashion? Why should that not be our go-to, our first go-to, to use verse 2 as a pronouncement of blessing upon one's followers or congregation?
It was written specifically to.
Yes, because this letter from the elder to
A specific person.
a specific person, and that specific person, he refers to him as well beloved, depending on your translation. King James, I think, uses well beloved. New King James uses beloved. And then verse 2 makes a distinction to let us know that this whole text has not veered to the left or veered to the right in terms of the targeted audience. And what it is it that locks it in?
He said beloved.
Because he uses beloved. Beloved too. Do I got to say your name again?
Just beloved.
No, because I already know who the beloved is in verse 1. Y'all see that? So now did we talk about how when you, and I was trying to say this Sunday night, that when there is a passage that may not be directly addressed to us, meaning Cornerstone, like, Philippians 4:19,
Mhm.
and my God shall supply all your needs. That was specifically to the believers, the Philippian saints.
Mhm.
And he says that because of what they did,
Mhm.
that they allowed their care of him to flourish again. And that whole reading there and starting in verse 10. But now when you got a verse that where you and I may not be the initial audience,
Mhm.
what we look for are the principles in those verses,
Mhm.
and just kind of look at, well, what did they do
Right.
to get what they got? Does that make sense? What did they do to get what they got? So if I come back to 3rd John, what did Gaius do to get this pronouncement of blessing that is clearly directed to him and him only in verse 2? Can anyone tell me what did he do to
He
get what?
showed hospitality to other Brennans that was coming visiting, and he
Come on,
treated
sister.
them with hospitality and love.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. To the brethren and the strangers.
Mhm.
That matter of fact, what is the language that John uses?
Verse 5.
Verse 5, which says, go ahead.
Beloved, you do faithfully whatever you do for the brethren and for strangers,
Verse 6.
but borne witness of your love before the church. If you send them forward on their journey in a manner worthy of God, you will do well. Because they went forth for his name's sake, taking nothing from the Gentiles. We therefore ought to receive such that we may become fellow workers for the truth.
All right. So, the basic idea there is that Gaius is being commended, and there is this pronouncement of blessing on his life in verse 2, because, well, if we just gonna work the text, right? Verse 3 says, for I rejoiced greatly when brethren came and testified of the truth that is in you, just as you walk in the truth.
Yeah.
So, you think about it, how can I walk in the truth if it ain't in me? He's living out his faith based on the truth. And he's not just talking no talk.
Yeah.
He uses that language, walking in the truth. You want to say something? Okay. And then he goes on to express, for I have no greater joy than to hear that my children walk in truth.
Mhm.
Right? And then he highlights, as Sister Betty so strongly and forcefully and eloquently said, that he was hospitable towards those who basically preached truth. Those whom he knows, brethren, and then strangers is referring to those whom he doesn't know. That's why he's commended. So watch this. 3 John verse 2 ain't to me. But if you want to get a 3 John verse 2 blessing, do what the fella who it is addressed to, do what he did. Then watch this. How do you treat people who proclaim the word?
Mm.
What's your attitude towards those who proclaim truth? Whether you know them or you don't know them. Or are you like a fellow who's a part of the church who does not show hospitality? We at verse 9 now, who does not show hospitality towards those who share truth, and in particular towards the elder. So it's kind of like, if he's the elder, and we're going to talk about what does that mean. It basically can talk about an older person, an older man, or someone who is older than you spiritually,
Mhm.
or someone who is older than you or over you. That sounds like a pastor. So, which means you can't diss the pastor.
Mhm.
I'm gonna listen at. I ain't listening. Well, I ain't listening. I ain't paying attention to Pastor Bates, but I'm gonna listen to everybody else.
Mhm.
The Ashafis didn't like the pastor preacher
Yeah.
based on verse 9. I mean, we ain't making it up because it says prating against us, blowing bubbles, saying stuff that is empty rhetoric, is nonsensical talk intended to hurt and not help. Against, if he says us, we'll see it, but also anyone who would want to support us. And he's quite violent. How do we know that Diotrephes is violent?
He puts them out.
He puts them out. Do y'all see that? All right. Any questions, comments, anybody? We're going to pick out our words here. I just want to kind of give us a working angle to see how all of this connects. And it does indeed connect. Let me, so we can hear them online here. Y'all hearing them on my computer, I think, only. Okay. There we go. All right. So, I think we started writing what the keywords are in 3 John. Which keyword, what's the first keyword that we wrote down? Remember, keywords are what kind of words? Repeated words. That if you were to take them out of the text doesn't make sense. Okay, good. Truth. All right. Is that true? Is that right online, Zoom crew?
In 3 John,
Right. So we're going down now to identify our keywords in 3 John.
I thought beloved was the first keyword in 3 John, and then truth.
Well, yeah, that as far as chronologically, I think we're looking at what as far as the number. Yes.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. So in 3 John, we know that truth occurs several times. How many times? Let's look at the verses so that
6.
we can see. So
6.
y'all remember how we did this? All right,
Yes.
so we wrote down the word truth, and we just went through and started identifying the places or the verses where we saw this word. So let's run through it.
1.
I saw truth 6 times, at least. I counted 6 times.
Okay,
Yes, 6.
but let's identify the verses though.
Okay.
Where's the first time you see the word truth?
Verse 1,
All right. So truth, you see it once in verse 1.
2 times in verse 3,
All right. 2 times in verse 3.
1 time in verse 4,
All right. 1 time in verse 4.
1 time in verse 8,
All right.
and 1 time in verse 12.
Sister Betty, it kind of feel like you came ready.
Well, I did a little homework.
But how many times in? Yeah, we added true and true. True.
So that makes the 7. Okay.
That's the 7. So so we got, yeah. 3 John 3:12.
See it, I see it.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 times. All right. Let's who? You mean the apostrophes? Well, we're gonna use him, but we're gonna also look at the adjective. There's an adjective that is used that lets us know we're talking about him. And you're right. So let's go ahead since we got verse 1. Beloved. And we know that that's a reference to Gaius, right? So beloved. So verse 1. So and you can actually write it as beloved Gaius. So verse 1. And then you have verse 2. All right. Verse 5.
Yes. And verse 11.
Right. Correct. Do y'all see it? That's it. So we're in 3 John is on the right hand side. Y'all got it? So beloved is there 4 times. What's another key word? If we could start in verse 1. What about love? Uh-huh.
Even though it's only in there twice. The.
Right. If you incorporate 2 John. Yeah. But it's a key repeated word. So you write it down. Yeah. So love, let's is there 2 times. Is that correct?
In verse 6. Mhm.
So verse 1 and verse 6. Right. Other key words. Or even phrases. What about back with truth? Well, there's a word in association with truth, but it's a repeated word as well by itself. And what is that repeated word connected to truth?
Walk.
Walk. All right. So let's just look over in 3 John. When's the first time we see the word walk? Verse 3. And then verse 4. All right, what's other keywords do we see? Or did you write down? Both online and in person. Any others of you online? Come to this meeting.
I wrote down church because it was used 3 times as a keyword.
Okay. So church. So where's the first time we see a clear reference to it?
Verse 6.
Do y'all see verse 6 there? So that's one.
Verse 9.
Um, there it is, verse 9.
And verse 10.
10.
Verse 10, yeah. All right. Other keywords. So and we did make note and make those distinctions of God, clear references to him, as well as of Jesus, right? So how many times do you see the name God?
No,
The word his in verse 7 reference is talking about that, so we should count that.
So you use the same a keynote, marking. Yeah.
that's before.
So let me see if I can let me get this on here.
That 4? Would we add he, or his, I'm sorry.
All right. Can y'all see that?
Verse 6,
Mhm.
verse 7 is his.
But it said it says his, that's it. So godly in verse 6.
God on the screen. Their journey in a manner worthy of God. And then I'll add that his name, say,
Verse 7.
verse 11, twice. So he who does good is of God. He who does evil has not seen God. So that's 4, huh? Y'all counted it all?
I see God in verse 11 2 times, but where is it located?
No, you saying where in verse 11?
No, I see it in
Oh,
verse 11. In verse 11, I
oh,
see
okay.
it 2 times. But
Yeah.
it's also, you said it was 4 times. So what other verse are we looking?
So verse 6,
Worthy of.
and then of course the pronoun.
So I think it's because of the version.
So that we use New King James.
Oh, okay, because this is not the New King James.
Right.
Verse 6.
But can you all see the screen though?
Yes, I see it.
Okay. So it's right here where I got the,
Yeah, it doesn't say this. In 6.
all right, brethren, yes. So write that down. And how many times do we see that
Three.
word?
3 times.
All right. Now, anybody other than Sister Betty on there seen anything on Zoom? Because Sister Betty, she cooking.
Okay. Sorry.
No, you all right. I'm just saying. I just was wondering if anybody else on there.
They're not giving up the verses though.
Oh, Sister Betty, they say you point up all those names, but we don't even know what verse to go to. All right. All right, 3, 5, and 10.
Right. Sorry.
She the student, teacher helper. She checking off y'all work. All right, 3, 5.
And 10 for Brennan.
Brethren. Yeah.
All right, for brethren. Okay. Correct. All right. Now you see, I made up this little deal here with walk. You see the little man there? So he walking in what? In truth. I have no greater joy than to hear those ears hearing that my children, there it is again, walk in what? Truth. All right, you see, I got the heart for beloved. I think I got it, sure I got it for, yeah. Verse 1 and verse 3. Now, well, they're two different. No, yeah, for the one for God is a different. I think it's a different.
The love is referring to Gaius as well. So it's the same part.
Yes, I mean it's so you're yeah, absolutely. So be love because it's a part of the word love, and so that I just used it there.
Over beloved.
And that's fine. Yeah.
It's the same person.
But I thought I put an underline where it's referencing. Wait a minute, make sure that's correct. I got it on here. You say I got an underline? Yeah. Yeah. So there's a difference. It's the heart, but then the line there lets me know that's referencing Gaius. All right. And then you see here, verse 6, just love by itself, no line underneath it. Church, we already got that down there, right? No, we hadn't written that down. Yeah.
6.
Oh yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Let's see what else here. So, so we should make a distinction, and even though it's not necessarily, there is a distinction in verse 5 as it relates to the brethren and strangers. You want to at least make that distinction, have that in your thinking. So we're going to find out that the brethren more likely, because those who are connected to the womb, that's what the basic meaning of that word. But these would be people that Gaius knew. While the strangers, and I made a distinctive mark there, would be those that he didn't know. But what both the brethren and the strangers have in common, does anyone know?
The truth.
the truth. And we've seen this before. We've seen this when a guest preacher that you've never set eyes on him before, right? Preached in the pulpit, or someone who taught. We had a guy here, several guys that came when we had that Southern Cal Seminary come up. One guy was from Lifeway dealing with the black church. I had never met him, but he was awesome. He was a stranger to me. And those who came, he was a stranger to you. But what you heard come out of his mouth was truth. You identified with the truth coming out the mouth of a person that you didn't know. So the point is that Gaius is commended because is somebody washing dishes?
So that's me. Yeah, I
Yeah,
was
he-
trying to get my camera
Oh, they say
situated.
you washing dishes, Sylvia.
No, uh-uh,
I didn't think that though.
no.
I thought you was trying to get your camera.
Yeah.
That sounds like somebody getting the camera to me, but who am I?
Sorry, I'm late. I had to work with a client. But I
You
made
all right. You all right.
it.
You here.
Thank you.
Um, anything else, y'all? I did make other notes or highlights.
Reverend Bates.
Yes.
In 2 John, we indicated that the elder was also a key word. But in 3 John, the elder is not a key word. I mean, when I was reading it, I was looking at elder, but I was also associating the word I with the elder.
So the pronouns that let you making that distinction. So you see, I got it there. So elder in red, and then I.
Okay.
I got the little. I love. I pray.
Yes.
I rejoice. And so watch this. Watch this. So what is it that we observe with regards to the elder just in those 3 verses? We see just what he personally says, I love in truth. I pray in verse 2.
Okay.
I rejoice in verse 3. Hey, Brother Jimmy. Oh, hey. Okay, not that time. But now you'll see, because see, the thing is that I would do, I list that out. Well, how does the elder feel about Gaius? Well, he uses a term of endearment, beloved or well beloved. How does he really feel? I love him in truth. What else does he do for him? I pray. So the elder loves, the elder prays, the elder rejoices. He greatly, yes. Same thing he does with regard to the elect lady and her children. Same rejoicing, same love for them. You see consistency. That is consistency. What made him rejoice in verse 3 is a question.
They walk in the truth.
Well, but just chronologically in the order of the verse, what got him excited?
To testify.
No, about what in Gaius?
The truth.
No, look at the verse. Not quite yet. Testified of the truth that is in you, just as you walk. So it's truth that's in you, and you're walking in it. So that you see that. So when I'm looking at verse 3, let me put up a little higher. I know that that's what's getting him excited. No, but not, well, he finds out about the truth that is in him, but who tells him?
The other brother.
Verse 3, look at the verse, it's in the verse. When brethren came and testified of this, he said, when they came and told me about and gave testimony of the truth that's in you, but not only that it's in you, that you're not just a biblically well known, well learned, and got biblical education, that's great. But what really causes me to rejoice is not only knowing that fact that it's in you, but you walking in it. Because what does it mean? What benefit is it for someone, as a consistent thing in scripture, to know the truth, but you don't live the truth? It's a lot. The devil knows the truth. The demons know the truth. They are not, they are not, they are not atheistic. Matter of fact, the demons, and this is what you're alluding to, Sister Wynn, that they are monotheistic. They believe in one God. What does James say? Thou believest that there is one God, thou doest well. But the devil also believes and trembles. He has an emotional experience. But that's not heart changing.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Do you mean to say that people can have an emotional experience and yet their lives not be changed? Well, if I'm thinking the Bible in terms of what it says and contextually, well, guess what I'm also thinking about? Wait a minute. There are in Matthew chapter 13 a parable that Jesus gives about the sower, the seed, and the soil. And one of those soils, it says, receive the seed with joy. But how did it respond to it? It didn't last long. We got to go look at it. No roots. I mean, take a look at it just to make sure we're right.
Yeah.
So we ain't just making it up as we go, because I didn't look at it, but I'm thinking about it. Because I'm trying to think about this whole thing in this 3rd John in light of other places in the scripture where I got a consistency there that it's not enough to know truth or have it in you if you don't live it. Matthew 13. So one part of it is the parable of the soil and the seed and the sower, and then the other part in 13 is actually like the explanation what it meant. So in the I think it's in the explanation that started at verse 18 through there.
Yes.
All right, what does it say?
Hear ye therefore the parable of the sower. When anyone heareth the word of the kingdom and understandeth it not, then cometh the wicked one and catcheth away that which was sown in his heart. This is he which received seed by the wayside. But he that received the seed into stony places, the same is he that heareth the word, and anon with joy receiveth it.
So this is the stony ground here that we talking about. Go ahead.
Yet has he not root him in himself, but dureth for a while. But when tribulation or persecution ariseth because of the word, by and by he is offended.
All right, that's the one I'm referencing.
No root.
So that's the thorny.
No
I
root.
mean, rocky. Which one is that?
No root.
The thorny ground? No, rocky ground, right?
The rocky ground.
Right. So
has no root.
so there's Matthew 13. So he's explaining the parable that he tells in between verse 3 through 9, I think it is, right? The different soils. Here's a situation, and remember, you all remember me saying that parables may have several different applications, but one meaning?
Yes.
Guess what the one meaning, and we can expand on it, is with regards to the soil and the seed and the sower. It's about one's receptivity to truth.
Mhm.
how you hear it. How you hear it. The person who the seed doesn't go or the word doesn't go through the ear,
Mhm.
but falls by the wayside, right? That person doesn't even receive it. It doesn't even go down because the ground is too hard. It's been trodden over by the foot of men and beasts of burdens and plows. Matter of fact, it never was intended to be a soil receptive for seed. If you ever were to look at, and this is where context, culture, and kind of understanding some of the layout of the land of the farmers,
Mhm.
that they'll have like a little thoroughpaths, that to take got people walking through that way. You got the carts going over that way, getting in position to hit the ground to till the soil or to gather up the fruit or vegetation, vegetables and whatnot. It was always trodden, a trodden place for foot of men. It's just like you don't go plant seed in the streets here in front of Cornerstone on 38th.
Mhm.
It's not designed for seed. But what would happen often, see, this is getting it into context and culture, that a farmer may be going from one field to the other side of another one, and he would cross that path. Well, in crossing, well, let's just say you throwing out seed. You going over to the other side, some seed gonna get on that rocky, I mean, not the rocky ground, but the hard ground that was never intended to be receptive to seed, right? But then some of those seeds fell on thorny ground. So the hard ground or the hard ground never was intended to be receptive to seed or to hearing it. There are people who can't hear truth because they don't know the sower,
Mhm.
right? They don't know the sower. You can't hear truth or be receptive to seed, not being able to have a relationship with the sower, because in the parable, Jesus represents the sower, the seed represents the word, and the soil represents the hearers.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So, but anyway, so it's about receptivity. But there's certain ground, which is called the rocky ground. Seed goes down, receive the truth, but it says a none receives it how with joy,
With joy. Mhm.
but because there's no depth, is that the
No root in
no
it.
root?
Mm.
So if you're thinking,
No deepness.
if you're thinking farming
Mhm.
to get a good harvest, seeds got to be put in the ground, but it's got to, seed grows down first before it grows up.
Yeah, yeah.
It's got to die and germinate with the dirt. But if because some of the soils had bedrocks that blocked
Mhm.
the germination process where the seeds couldn't go down deep. So guess what? It's like a signal. Well, time to go up. I guess we got to the bottom where we're supposed to be. And it goes up. Now it's received with joy. That's some people hear it with joy, but they don't have no depth.
Yeah.
And how do you know that there's no depth to that hearer? What does the verse say? They receive it with joy. Read that again.
Yet has he not root himself, but
Uh-huh.
endureth for a while.
So he hangs in there for a little while.
For when tribulation or persecution arises because of the word, by and by he is offended.
Here's a person, because you have no depth, you're tripped up by truth. Because read it one more time.
Yet has he not root in himself, but dureth for a while. For when tribulation or persecution arises because of the word, by and by he is offended.
So if you did word study on tribulation, it's like when the squeeze is on, they flee. They can't handle truth. That's why, and I mean, this thing opens up so broad though, right? It's like that probably helps to explain why people try to go to churches that are more into motivational speaking than to confront people with truth. Because if you hear truth, truth calls for change.
Yeah, definitely.
And most folk don't want to change. I'd rather be soothed, but I don't want to be changed. You see, we just opening this up, and that all takes us right back here to this text. Now we can keep going on that, but it's getting late. But I'm just trying to show you how this thing opens up and just talk through it and think through it. And it'd be mind blowing. And guess what? What I'm sharing with you, I ain't read that from nobody. That's just studying the passage. I have looked at because I wanted to know what was the cultural context. How did the farmers do?
Mhm.
What was that wayside like, right? That wasn't going nowhere. You were getting ready to dig up the wayside. That was there, put there on purpose
Right.
for people to travel, for farmers to get their beast of burden from one farmland side. Y'all seen farmland? You got, yeah, okay. Tell us about it. See, Eloise, her family, they grew tobacco. Am I right? What else y'all grew? But I bet you didn't have. Well, tell us about that. This would be a good place to hear about some of your upbringing. No, seriously.
Yeah.
The tobacco fields.
Well, don't get no attitude about it. Wait a minute. We didn't mean for this to be an offensive study. I know y'all done got mad. I had to work out, but go ahead.
You're offended by the truth.
I love you a lot because it is. I apply those same principles in my life when I'm planting, whether I'm planning a conversation with someone, when I meet people. Because you have to, and even when in my job, in my work, I have to plant seeds in order to cultivate. in order to
Yes.
Get paid. I mean, it's just the same thing. Farming is something that we do in real estate. So I apply my whole tobacco principles.
Yeah.
And all the things that we taught, my parents taught us when we were farming.
So let me ask you this. So you plant tobacco in a certain batch of land, right?
Right.
But was it mixed up with other vegetation or fruit? It,
Plant tomatoes or cucumbers at the end of a row. So
but
that's-
not,
And you
You-
deliberately did that. So you
Okay.
got, you got to the end of the row.
right, but what I'm saying, but it wasn't all mixed up in, that's what I'm saying. So there's a distinction.
You don't plant in the same field.
Okay,
Yes. Say that out.
but a seed of same kind would go in same soil.
And same soil.
Yeah,
Yeah. A lot of seeds.
okay. Sister Chambers, how you doing? Share your, I really, I want to hear. What was your experience?
Back in 68 and 66, we didn't have CETA and all them little cute
Yeah,
work programs. So if you wanted to buy some clothes,
yeah,
you worked on the tobacco field.
yeah.
You went and you met the little yellow bus, and it took you over there to Connecticut across from the airport, and you worked in the tobacco field.
Yeah, made you a little money. Wow.
And I said, "Oh, I'm going to college."
It motivated you to go to college. I'm gonna get me a degree so I can make some for real money. Oh my goodness, that's good. That's good. Anyone else? We're done for tonight. So we meet next week, right?
The 27th.
Give us our schedule.
So I'm trying to see this here. Yeah, we meet on the 27th, June the 27th.
May.
Oh, I'm sorry, May 27th.
Whoa.
Right, but we are gonna be, I'm asking. Me too.
What?
After the end of.
Memorial barbecue.
Well, we're gonna take a break. Um, I think the thing is for some, which is probably just you and Eloise.
And Sister Mary possibly.
Oh yeah, is the rehearsal for the joint revival at that rehearsal is going to be at St. John next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday.
Yeah, so I think we said we would meet um the week the Tuesday after.
The third.
Yeah,
June the 3rd.
June 3rd.
Next week we will not have.
Correct.
There's no reason.
So you made me do all of that?
Well, I'll be on the plane. Yeah, class.
So she won't be at our rehearsal.
I'll be on the plane and class.
Okay. You gonna make the revival though?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
The weekend, that's a Tuesday, no, really. Sorry.
Never mind. All right.
Sorry. Sorry, excuse me. Extended weekend. Okay,
No.
no problem.
All right, my Zoom crew. Hopefully it's been helpful to you all as well. That hopefully y'all are able to get where we was going with this. But good to see you all.
Yeah. and
Yes,
we'll be-
Thank
we'll
you
be
so
done
much.
on the
Great
3rd.
study, Pastor Bates, great study.
All right, but yes.
Wait, hold on. Let's clarify before people go offline. No class on the 27th, which is
Next Tuesday
Our
We-
next class
will be on the 3rd,
3rd.
correct? And then we'll break to August. But I think I'm gonna do something kind of special, like a 2 or 3 week thing towards either the end of June or in the July timeframe. Now, of course, we're working on VBS, which is July 30th.
To August 1st.
So July
To July.
30th, 31st, and 1st of August. It'll be advertised, and we'll be talking about it. All right, all right.
Catherine, did you get all of that? I don't even know if he's on.
I thought I saw him, he was on here for a split second, but you know, he could have been working too.
Sister Curry, did you get all of that?
He was on here.
Announcements? Deacon Calvin. Think it's amazing. So where? Just the July 1st?
All right. I'm gonna ask, well, Devon, you opened us up, and let's get an offering too in our hands, give offering. So if you come and close us out, we get everybody's attention, please. Man.
So online, they did via Zelle,
Yes,
Seastone Finance. Wait, seastonenbc.finance@gmail.com.
yes,
That's the first one.
okay.
I got it all.
What? Wow. At your,
Yeah. But still, it's kind of mind blowing
right,
because we don't have to do
wow.
it's really hurting the man. We still get together. Celebrate.
It was even, well, a lot of, the now, well, young adult, young men here have been really affected even by Eugene's passing. I've had some conversation with a few of them. It has really gotten to them, even, Akili, Al and Annie's, daughter, Akila, yeah. That has had some effect,
Yeah.
yeah, so. All right, well, Devon,
Let's pray. Let's close to this next first. Heavenly, oh, sorry. Heavenly Father, we come right now thanking you for this night. We thank you for what we've heard. We thank you for what was taught tonight. We thank you for, again, we thank you for our facilitators. We thank you for everyone who's present tonight, Father. Now we ask that you please be with us as we go to our various destinations, Father. Please be with us throughout the rest of this night. We love you and we thank you. In Jesus' name, amen.
amen. All right, good night. Zoom, Facebook, YouTube, church app.
Good
Have a
night.
good evening. All right. Yes,
Good night.
Good
good
night.
night.
Good night.
Good
That's
night.
the question part, right? Yeah.